Dear students, welcome to the course HS 1310 Science of Consciousness in Ancient India. This is lecture 3. So, in the last lecture I explained this chart, classification of Shastra, Shruti and Smriti, and then I came to this point. Shastra can also be classified into two categories, that is Nigam and Agam. So, today I will go by the points or the bullets available in the slides one by one. First thing is, you can see like Shruti is based on listening to the Rishis. So, here the word comes Rishi. We need to understand this one before moving ahead or proceeding ahead. We need to understand the things which are available in the slides. Rishi, you can write the derivational definition of Rishi. Who is Rishi? Rishayaha mantra drishtaraha. Rishis are those who have perceived mantras of the Ved directly. Okay, this is the definition. Rishi, Rishayaha mantra drishtaraha. So, a kind of knowledge which is directly seen. It's not assumed. Imaginative knowledge नहीं है. आपने imaginate किया और उसको बता दिया, ऐसा नहीं है. आप directly उसको देख पाए हैं, तब वो मंत्र बनती है. So, mantra is not a creative writing. That's why I said कि in history we have a liberty of creation, tempering, modification, but in itihas we do not have that kind of liberty. The same thing is applicable in case of mantras of the Ved. They are not the created one. It is directly perceived one. So, that's why Rishaya mantra drishtara, first thing is that. And once the Rishi is explaining the same kind of knowledge to the disciples, that becomes a kind of corpus of knowledge, and that is Shruti. And because it is received by hearing, that's why the word is Shruti is used as a classification of the Shastra. Then now you can see the Shruti is based on listening to the Rishis, those who have directly perceived that knowledge in the form of the mantras of the Ved, while Smriti is based on remembrance. I have explained this in the previous lecture also, that when you remember the same or recollect the same knowledge which you have heard once, then it becomes a Smriti. So, this is based on remembrance of the norms which were followed in society. In turn, they were dependent on the Shruti. That is why in a state of conflict between Shruti and Smriti, Shruti is supposed to be followed. आपको बता चुकी हूँ मैं. Then Nigam is what? This classification. Nigam is itself Ved. So, there is another word for the Vedic corpus, that is Nigam. And here mantras are directly perceived knowledge of the Rishis, that is the Drishta Gyan. That's why the word Drishta is used. Drishta means you have seen it directly. That's why it is Drishta Jnana. Drishta Jnana means you have seen it. So, Nigam is Ved itself, and the mantras of the Ved are received or understood by directly perceiving. That's why they are Drishta Jnana. And that's why they are also named as a Nigam, because they are followed, they are actually they are carrying the 5 steps of the research. In further lectures I will explain what are the 5 steps of the research, that is Indian research methodology. Next you can see Agamas. What are Agamas? They are dialogue based revealed knowledge. There is difference. Revealed knowledge. Once you are going to get some kind of revelation of the knowledge. What is revelation? The word revealing, इसका मतलब क्या है? Suppose right now you cover this object with some kind of covering. You are covering this object. So अभी आपको ये object नहीं दिखाई दे रहा है. ठीक है? It's covered by something. You are not able to see it. But once you remove the covering, the object comes under the range of your perception. You are able to see it. So, revelation means the knowledge is always available, but you are not able to access it. Somehow it got forgotten, or it is covered by some kind of encapsulation or coverings. That's why you are not able to understand or to know it or to see it directly. So, once this kind of removing of the covering happens by some person or through some person or through some method, जरूरी नहीं है कि कोई व्यक्ति ही उसको हटाएगा. कोई ऐसा मेथड हो जाए, सपोज this object gets covered with a polythene cover and suddenly there is a rush of air, so automatically covering would be gone. So what would happen? This object would come into the range of your perception. This is revelation, that knowledge which is already available to you, but you are not able to access it, but it somehow it gets available, it becomes a part of your perception, that is revelation. So revelation, in the method of revelation, what happens? There is a dialogue between the teacher and the student. So this knowledge, agamas, are the revealed knowledge, and they are taught by Shiva to Parvati, and in that case you consider Shiva as a teacher at some instances and Parvati as some instances as a student, and some instances Parvati is going to answer the questions of the Shiva also. So vice versa, both can be teacher and the disciple. So a kind of dialogue is going between the teacher and the student, or you can say between a person who has a curiosity to know something and between a person and the person who is authoritative on that kind of knowledge. So this is a Agam Shastra, and that's why the word is Upadishta Jnana. Upadishta Jnana. Upadishta means being taught or being revealed to you. So this includes like something is available, it is in existence, but we are not able to access it. So remove the cover and access it. That's the Agama Shastra. So the classification available in the figure 1.2 says like Shastra can be classified into two categories, Agam and Nigam. Agam is Upadishta Jnana and Nigam is Drishta Jnana. This is the difference. Then the last point says Nigam and Agam both are Shruti, because both are based on Shruti Parampara, Shruta Parampara. Nobody is going to write in that case. In Indian discourse, you will find that immediately the teacher is telling something, the student is not focused on writing it. The student is writing is inside of one's own consciousness. So remembrance is functioning. Memory is very sharp. युगों की मेमोरी है, युगों की मेमोरी. आपको अभी बादाम खाने पड़ते हैं नहीं, आप अपना अगला ही लेक्चर भूल जाते हैं, कल जो पढ़ा आज भूल चुके हैं. इतनी लेसर वीकर मेमोरी है. उस समय जो इतिहास आपके पास है, द काइंड ऑफ नरेशंस अवेलेबल इन द पुराणास, दे आर डीलिंग विद द 71 टाइम्स साइकिल ऑफ द 4 युगास. दैट मीन्स दैट काइंड ऑफ enlarged, engrossed, a magnified level of memory, that too within the consciousness of individual, not available in the form of a script. Scripture is a concept which is borrowed from the West right now, कि हर चीज़ लिख करके देंगे. वचन महत्वपूर्ण था. याद है ना कि क्या है वचन के संबंध में, पॉपुलर नरेशन, पॉपुलर स्टोरी रिगार्डिंग द स्पोकन वर्ड. हाँ, रघुकुल रीति सदा चली आई, प्राण जाए पर वचन न जाए. अभी मूवी में क्या था, एक बहुत पॉपुलर मूवी, मेरा वचन ही मेरा शासन है, सुना है ना डायलॉग्स. सो दीज डायलॉग्स आर नरेटेड बिकॉज वचन, the uttered one, the spoken one, the oral one dominates. That's the language, that's speech. वो भाषा है, उसमें ही सब कुछ कह दिया गया, लिख के नहीं दिया गया, साइंड डॉक्यूमेंट नहीं है, लीगल डॉक्यूमेंट नहीं दिया है, बट स्टिल इट्स अ काइंड ऑफ अथॉरिटेटिव अंडरस्टैंडिंग कि कह दिया है हो जाएगा. इट्स अथॉरिटी. There is no legal or written document. A scripted version is a completely recent understanding and recent creation which has bound us to waste a lot of paper and to waste a lot of energy in doing a lot of the things जो चल रहा है. So that's why right now we are moving towards digital era. Do it digitally because everyone is tired of doing this paperwork. So do it digitally means a kind of change. Again you are going back to the same understanding जहाँ वचन ही dominate करेगा. So spoken version of the language dominates. So here you need to understand both the parts like Nigam and Agam. Both are based on the Shruti Parampara. They are received by listening only. That's why in turn they both belong to that Shrut Parampara or Shrut Parampara. Shrut matlab suna gaya, whatever has been received by listening or whatever is heard is Shrut, and from Shrut we create the word Shraut. So Shraut Parampara means the kind of oral tradition of knowledge. This is mentioned in this slide. After this one, now we need to come the other things which are available related with the same slide also, and some other parts which are going to be addressed in the next slide. Shruti is directly perceived knowledge of rishis, that's clear, and it is received by later ones through listening. It is without a known beginning and known end, because it is coming from in the oral tradition, so you cannot trace the dating method. If you wish to identify how ancient a particular text is, you use different kind of methods of identifying the possible date. But अगर कोई corpus ओरल बेस्ड था, ओरैलिटी में पास ऑन किया गया है, स्क्रिप्टेड नहीं है, सो आप उसकी डेट नहीं फिक्स कर सकते. That's why the Vedic corpus, which is right now available in the written version, or you can whenever you go to the market to purchase Vedas, Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvaveda, this is very recent. They were scripted when the people understood that in future there would be a demand of a scripted one. Then only they were scripted. Otherwise, today also in the Gurukul system, the students are remembering the Vedas, or you can say the whole of the mantras of the Vedas just by listening to the Guru. From the age of 8 years, and the training starts, and they are and we say like Ved कंठस्थ हैं. कंठस्थ मतलब कंठ में स्थित हैं, याद हैं. आपने कहा वो शुरू हो जाएंगे, उनको पूरा याद है वो. That is the level of understanding, and that is the level of transmission of knowledge in orality, that is oral tradition of dissemination. That's why we cannot date Rigveda, or we cannot date any Vedic corpus. वो लिखा हुआ नहीं था, वो oral था. Second is Ved term represents the knowledge because it comes from the root Vid. In Sanskrit we have a root, and then we put some prefix, then some suffix, and then we create or generate a word. So Vid Jnane, with the root is used Jnane. Jnane means to know something. So in totality Ved term represents whatever we know, that means knowledge. Third is Samhita. Samhita terms represents the spoken text, which is we have. For example, we have Rig Samhita for Rigveda. Samhita means a kind of a spoken text. What is the difference between the spoken and the written version? In other languages there is a difference, बहुत difference है. For example, it's and it is. What is the difference? If you are writing it is and its, क्या difference है? It is and its becomes uska. The meaning comes like uska. It's her. ठीक है? It is a pen. That means it is a kind of a subject, then is a verb, and then pen is an object. So there is a difference between it is and its, but the sounds fuse together. It is and it's, both are, when they are spoken orally, you fuse them multiple times, and then there is a compressed version of the language. We fuse a lot of sounds in a single sentence, or sometimes we fuse multiple sentences together. When we are speaking orally, or you can say in flow. In a flow there is a fusion of sounds, and there is the fusion of the sounds gives us a compressed version of the sentences or the talk or any message. So in the spoken text there is a fusion of the sounds, either in the form of sandhi, that means fusion of two or more than two sounds, or in the form of samas, that means compounding of the sentences, one or more than one sentence. So this is called samhita. That's why when Rigveda or any Veda is recited, the mantras of the Veda are recited, they are being recited continuously. So in recitation we don't split the words like Om Agnimide Purohitam Yajyatsa Devam Ritvijam Hotaram Ratnadhatamam, continuation. You see the continuity, the pitch rising, the pitch is coming down, but continuation of the sounds. I don't break the words like Om Agni Mide Purohitam Yajyasya Devam Ritvijam, अलग अलग कर दिया हमने पद. तो ये हो गया, एक हुआ continuation of the text, this was samhita. एक हुआ you have splitted the words and then you are understanding them, that is part, pad part, each and every word. is splitted separately then understood. So, when you are speaking in a flow, that is a spoken version of that text, Samhita. We are talking about Samhita text of the Vedas. So, Samhita is a kind of a spoken version. When we speak fluently, there is a process of fusion of sounds, and that creates a kind of sandhi, and sandhi is a universal phenomena. It happens in all the languages, but the problem is in Sanskrit we are having a particular criteria which is being listed or scripted in the form of grammar, the Vyakaran or Vyakaran of Sanskrit. So, in the Vyakaran of Sanskrit, by the grammarians, the Vyakaranas, they have already presented Sandhi structure, and because of Sandhi only, Samhita is the spoken version of the Vedas, and in that sense we have Rig Samhita. For example, Rig Veda, the oral version of the Rig Veda becomes a Rig Samhita. Rig Samhita becomes a Ka becomes a Ga. Again, Rig, that means this one, Rig becomes a Rig, this one. So, there is a change of the sound. Ka becomes Ga. This Ka is becoming Ga when we are pronouncing. In the same way, in English language, for example, if we utter like lamp post, so we are not able to segregate the last sounds of the two words, the last of the first word and the beginning or the first sound of the second word. Lamp plus post, this is the lamp, then post. Once you utter the same word in a flow, it would be like lamp post. So, now what happened? There is a fusion of sounds. Fusion of two or more than two sounds is Sandhi, and this is available in Indian understanding, in Indian corpus. So, Samhita text is dealing with the spoken version of the Vedas, and for example, Rig Samhita is the spoken version of the Rig Veda. In that, we recite in a continuation like Om Agnimide Purohitam Yajjasya Devam Ritvajam Hotaram Ratnadhatamam. So, there is a continuation of the sounds. So many sounds are being uttered in a proper sequence without being splitted in a form of the different padas or different words. But simultaneously, when we try to identify the meaning of each and every word which is being presented in a single sentence, then we split the word. So, now what is the possible procedure? If I want to explain you what is the meaning of this mantra, then I would slowly split all the words and then explain you the meaning of each and every word like Om, Agni, Mide, Purohitam, Yajjasya, Devam, Ritvijam, and for each word there would be a meaning. So, by identifying the meaning of each of the word, then there would be a conjoined meaning of the sentence, and either from this way or from the way of another two Shabda Shaktis, that is Lakshana and Vyanjana, that is indicative meaning or the suggestive meaning, we come to the conclusion of the proper meaning of the mantra. So, that is why I am saying that the corpus which we have is not the scripted kind of corpus from the day one. It is oral. It is passed orally from in our tradition. So, the orality dominates, and that spoken version is known as Samhita. In the next bullet, then you can see the next topic is like the language used in the written text of the Vedas is compositional language. So, it is not a new thing. I am not presenting you another version of the language. It is normal. When we are going to compose something, we have to take care of a lot of things like punctuation marks, like specific words for a specific meaning, in the same way the sentence structure, and so many things come in the scene in order to create a composition or to compose something. So, once we start creating a corpus and we start a compositional text, and compositional text is also not like a scripted one, just come out of this biased understanding that whenever we are going to compose something, it is scripted or written. No, this is current practice. We are being misinformed about it, like you are going to be an author of a book and the scripted book is only the composition. No, it's not like that. Rig Veda is a composition, but it is not a book which was scripted from the day one. So, composition is also in orality. Orality dominates. What kind of composition? Suppose there is a person who is poet, kavi hai ek vyakti. So, the person is fond of creating so many poems orally, randomly. That's the talent, that's the inbuilt capacity, that is pratibha. Kavitva shakti hai uske andar. So, in another words, what is being intended here, in a composition also the orality dominates. Once you compose something orally and then you try to script it to get it converted into a kind of written composition or written version of a kind of book or magazine or anything like that. Any way of publication or scripting. It can be a palm leaf also, it can be a banana leaf also, it can be a stone also, stone carvings. So, there is a possibility which kind of raw substance you are going to take to create the scripted one, but for composing something you are not limited to the scripting like writings and everything. So, composition also does not necessarily require scripting. So, compositional language is also oral. In that sense, once you are composing something, it is a natural process that we actually create something in a particular meter, in a particular rhythm, so that it can be remembered forever, it can be remembered for a longer period of time, and that becomes understood as Chandas, because Vedas are a kind of composition which are being recited orally. They are compositions which are orally created and they are bound in a particular meter. They are known as Chandas. So, you can find that another name of Vedic literature, Vedas, is Chandas. First is Ved, second is Samhita, and third is Chandas. Next is to preserve the vast body of this kind of literature which was passed orally from one generation to another generation. Vedas were preserved in different variations of the recitations. In what way? These versions are known as pathas. Path means a kind of way of recitation, how you are going to read them or to recite them. So, suppose this mantra Om Agni Mide Purohitam, suppose you can split the word like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, what our scholars did in order to preserve this kind of corpus, which is very vast, but it is being passed orally from one generation to another generation, there are chances that there can be a kind of manipulation, modification, addition, subtraction or deletion. So, to avoid these kind of possibilities, they started the way of creating different versions of the recitation, and in that case they identified 8 पाठास, 8 प्रकार के पाठ हैं हमारे पास ऋग्वेद के या वैदिक संहिता के, वैदिक कॉर्पस के. For example, I am giving one example like Om, then Agni, Mide, Purohitam. Suppose this is these are the words. These are the splitted words. So, once you are splitting and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you are splitting the words in the mantra. Now, you are willing to keep them preserved by the recitation method only. Then they identified one type of the part like 1, 2, then 2, 3. In the same way 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2. This is one type. So, Om Agni, then Agni Om. Then Agni Mide, Mide Agni. So, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2 or 2, 1. In the same way, second possibility like 1, 2, 3, then 3, 2, 1. So, Om Agni Mide, then Mide Agni Om. This is the second possibility. So, they created these kind of pathas of, that means the oral form of recitation of different mantras of the Ved, just to preserve that oral corpus. You can just imagine how much labor they actually, how much effort they actually put on preserving that vast corpus, which is very important to all of us. Then you can see for each of the Ved, there are the texts which are dealing with the variations of the sounds of the same mantra. Mantra is the same, but because of my regional variation, geographical conditions, or because of the development of my vocal cords, I am not able to pronounce few of the sounds universally same. So, in that way, different creatures are reciting the same mantra by using different kinds of sounds. For example, Rishi. Rishi, in the northern parts we use the word Rikara, and then in the Andhra we say Rushi. So, Ukara is being borrowed to pronounce the same sound, while this sound is universal. There is no change. Rishi is a Rishi. Whether you say Rishi, then also the same entity is being addressed. If you want to say Rushi, then also the same entity is addressed. In the same way, Rigaveda, Rugaveda. So, there are possibilities of variations because of the different constraints of the persons who are uttering those sounds. So, this is the variation of the same sound, So, if you want to deal with these kind of variations, what is a possible method? They invented that method also, and they kept it these variations, they listed these variations in the name of Pratishakya. So, we are having these Pratishakya texts. What is the meaning of Pratishakya? If you split the word Pratishakya, it would be like Prati, then Shakya means Shakha. So, Prati means each, Shakya means branch. So, in turn what is happening? We are having 21 branches of the Rigveda itself. Rigveda Samhita bhi koi ek nahi hai. 21 branches are right now available. So, what would be the actual number? We cannot say. So, 21 branches, if you talk about the contemporary situation, then among the 21 branches, we are having Pratishakya for each of the branch. So, you can just imagine for each branch there is one Pratishakya, Pratishakha, for each branch one corpus which is listing the variations of the same sound of the mantras, just because of the regional, geographical or climatic or any kind of biological constraints. This is the Pratishakya text. So, you can see there are 21 branches of the Rigveda, and Rig Pratishakya of the Rigveda explains how to articulate 2085 varieties of the Akara. So, same base level, the A. When we are saying A, this can also have variations in the pronunciation. By different people, it can be pronounced differently. And the Rig Pratishakya is listing 2085 variations. You can see the diversity, the richness of the corpus. So, it can be said that they are dealing with the phonetics of a particular school of text. This is Pratishakya text. Now, as I told you, Vedangas, auxiliary sciences, Vedangas are what? They are the Ang of the Ved. Ang means they are going to be a part of Vedic corpus. They are the part of Vedic corpus, but they assist us in understanding the Vedas. So, Vedangas are a kind of auxiliary sciences, and Brahmanas are the liturgical text dominant of the rituals. I explained you in the first lecture also, in the second lecture also, like liturgical text which are dominant of the rituals, how to perform the yajna. These kind of rituals are being dominantly available in Brahman text. So, Brahman is not related with any caste, it is not related with any word. Here Brahman means a kind of text dealing with the rituals. And then Aranyakas, these are the extracts of the Brahmanas, and they contain totality of the ideas in total. But these are the compositions which were created in the forest. Forest in Sanskrit, the word is Aranya. So, from Aranya we create Aranyak. Because these texts were being created in the forest, they were named as Aranyak. And after Aranyak, you can see Upanishads. They are one theme dominant sciences extracted from the Aranyakas. You can see the difference. Aranyakas are having totality of the ideas, irrespective of the theme, but in the Upanishads again we selected one theme, then created one Upanishad, like Kathopanishad, Kenopanishad. So, according to the theme or the subject matter, the first word of the Upanishad is being used. Kat, then Ken, then in the same way, Isha, Vasya Upanishads, there are so many Upanishads also. But the first word is denoting the subject matter. So, one theme dominant extracts of the Aranyakas are the Upanishads. Then Smriti. Smriti is a kind of recollected knowledge, and Kavya is a creative knowledge. When we create something, that becomes a kavya, like poetry, poems. These are the creative literature. And the last is, there is a difference between Pratishakya and Siksha text, that is phonetics. So, normally I told you that in the 6 Vedangas there are 6, the 6 one like Siksha, Kalpa, Vyakarana, Chanda, Nirukta and Jyotish. So, Siksha is the first one, which is dealing with the phonetics, the sound structure or the phonemes of the Vedic corpus. And there is a difference between Pratishakya and Siksha. You can easily identify if you have understood what is Pratishakya. Pratishakya is dealing with the variation of the same sound, but Siksha is dealing with the actual articulation and pronunciation of the sound. So, if I am going to teach a small child how to recite the Vedic mantras, and a kind of at an early age, when the child is being taken and being given the teachings of the Vedas, he is just starting the recitation of the Vedas. So, in the beginning itself, I will teach what are the sounds and what is the place of pronunciation of each of the sound, and how they should be articulated, and then how they should be pronounced. So, this is the way of teaching of the base sounds when we start the learning of the Vedas, recitation of the Vedas. So, that is phonetics, Siksha. So, in Siksha I will teach like a is a kant, guttural sound. It should be pronounced from this portion of the throat. So, this is the way where Siksha comes into the scene. And once we are listing the variations of the same by different people in different geographical locations, in different time and space also, then it becomes a Pratishakya. So, basically there is a difference. Pratishakya is listing how the sounds are being recited differently in a variety of the ways. That means the same sound has different variations. But Siksha deals how to actually articulate and pronounce that particular sound correctly in the beginning itself. So, there is a difference, and you need to understand that and keep in mind there is a difference between Siksha and Pratishakya. According to this one, after this we need to summarize whatever we have learnt in this lecture. So, these are few of the questions. As a sample, you need to understand what can be possible questions from the content which I have just taught to you in lecture 2. So, first one, for example, there can be 1 mark question, brief questions, short questions, or 1 word questions. So many variations of the questions are possible. But for understanding what has been taught till now in lecture 2, you can go with the question like, what is Chandas, why it is being used, and in respect of which corpus the word Chandas is being used. So many variations of the same questions are possible. In the same way, second question can be dealing like, write down the differences between Siksha and the Pratishakya. I explained it right now. Then define Aranyakas. What are Aranyakas? Then fourth one, what do you understand by the term Veda? Veda Jnane, that means the whole of the knowledge is Veda. I have explained it in detail. Then name 1 Samhita text, for example, Rig Samhita. So, these are the possible questions which can come as a kind of a practice to memorize, to remember, to revise whatever is being taught in lecture 2. In the same way, you can be asked like the fill in the blank type of questions, like the spoken text of the Vedas is known as the Samhita. In the same way, what is the one theme dominant sciences extracted from the Aranyak is Upanishad. What is recollected knowledge? It's Smriti. What is creative knowledge? It's Kavya. Auxiliary sciences to study the Vedas is Vedangas or 6 Vedangas. You can name them also if the question is asking for the same. Then liturgical texts dominant of the rituals are Brahmanas or Brahman. In English, we are having a habit of using the yes at the end. This yes at the end to create the plural of the Sanskrit words. So अगर हमें उसको अपनी मातृभाषा में लिखना है तब तो आसान है, ब्राह्मण ग्रंथ, ब्राह्मण is sufficient. बस if you are writing the same in romanized version, you can use the like brahmanas, because there are so many brahmanas, number is more than one. Many versions of recitation of the Vedas are known as pathas. So you can write in romanized way like patha. So pathas are the versions, plural one. In Indian languages, it's path only. The way of recitation is path. So these are few of the questions which can be practiced to revise the content which is being taught in lecture. This is sufficient for this one. Thank you.